DMI is a full-service digital agency. We're based right in Center City, Philadelphia. We've been around for 16 years. We offer a full suite of digital marketing solutions from search and social to comprehensive e-commerce management. But two services where we have really found a niche where we offer best-in-class end-to-end services are surrounding affiliate program management and end-to-end email marketing. So that last piece, email marketing, is the piece I really focus on at DMI and wanted to give a little bit of information on. So I wanted to start off with just kind of giving a sense of what we're seeing in the marketplace for email. Two big takeaways that we've seen is that people are still subscribing to receive emails. DMI's clients have acquired over 3.8 million new email subscribers through us in March and April, which is actually a 46% increase over January and February. So we're seeing the appetite for people to sign up to receive information. We're seeing a lot of that growth specifically in businesses that have been heavily impacted by either their distribution channels or to demand, and people are looking for updates to know when product might be available or where they can purchase. We also are seeing subscribers engaging with email more. So on average, we're seeing open rates increase by 14% since March 14th, which we've kind of set as a date where everyone kind of went into some of the shelter in places and businesses went to work from home. We also wanted to share a survey by one of the bigger email service providers, Klaviyo. They're doing a really good job of surveying their audience of customers and the marketplace in general. And what they've seen is that 55% of brands have increased their investment in email more than any other channel. And really, the only other areas where we're seeing significant increase in that investment is other owned channels. So where you understand or you're capturing your audience and getting them to take some action. So I wanted to give you a sense of what we saw brands do ahead of COVID-19 that they're able to take advantage of. I think the first and biggest one is that we saw brands spend a lot of resources capturing market share of first-party owned opt-in subscribers. This is true for both our B2C and our B2B clients. And really how a lot of our clients are looking at is one of two ways. One, it's either prospective clients that they want to be communicating to on an ongoing basis as part of that sales process. And then also thinking through, of our existing customers, which percentage of it do we have them in our database to be able to send ongoing messages? To Janelle's point about, making sure that you're communicating effectively, I definitely would agree with one of the things we saw well is, that the clients that are being able to message effectively today are ones that had really invested in building ongoing email engagement with their customers. It does very much ring true or ring hollow if you are all of a sudden starting to send a bunch of messages to people that you've never communicated through that channel with before. So the clients that are doing well with it now really did build that investment of sending ongoing messages and building up that relationship with their customer base ahead of time. Another area where clients spend a lot of resources ahead of time that they're capitalizing off of is developing segmentation and progressive profiling practices so that they really understand their email database. We work with a local company that sells a large number of products, and those products really kind of run the gamut. Some of them, there's an abundance of resources and they're not able to sell them off the shelves, whereas other products they can't find. And so what those clients have really done a really good job with is understanding this segment of our database is really looking for updates on this product. They're primarily a purchaser of these products. How can we message to them effectively and much differently than our segments in our database where we might not have the product available, and obviously you need to communicate much differently to them. We also have a client in the cruise line industry, and obviously them knowing who their reliable customers are that are loyally going to buy. You can potentially start sending promotional messages to them much earlier than somebody that you know less about or might not be as avid a fan of yours. And then from a B2B perspective, that's very integral as well, is just thinking through what are our clients' obstacles right now. Are they running into issues with their distribution, and how should I be communicating to them versus other clients of ours that are really looking to grow their business and capitalize based off of where they're positioned today. I think one of the things that we've always been working with our clients to figure out is can we build automations into your email process? So if somebody signs up to receive a white paper or sign up for a webinar, building out a flow of messages that go out to those subscribers. But obviously a lot of those messaging, we really recommend doing so in a way that you can quickly audit it and adjust. A good example is one of our clients in one of their welcome messages when somebody signed up to receive a white paper was something about popping champagne in their office. And, in our ongoing process of just kind of auditing those messages once everybody went from a work from home, that message really just didn't make sense. It could potentially have even come off negatively to a large chunk of their audience. So quickly being able to not only find those situations, but also be able to, as Gretchen mentioned, you want to really make sure you're nailing the messaging foundation, and that was a big component of it for our clients. And then the last piece is making sure that you're going through the process of making sure that the people that you're emailing are actually still engaging with your content. One of our partners, Fresh Address, who is really good at determining invalid emails, they estimate that around 8% of email addresses are retired year over year. So on any given year, 8% of your database that you've effectively been able to build up over time, that email may no longer be valid. So looking to replace that, but also thinking through ways that you can pull those people off the file as you've seen them stopping engaging. What we're seeing in terms of brands adjusting to the current environment, one of the big things is it really is important to communicate changes to the business. Email is one of the most effective and certainly one of the most cost-effective ways to do that, especially if you've done a lot of the work that we mentioned leading up to the current situation, so you know who in your audience want to receive different information. A really big example of this is we work with a number of restaurant clients having to shift a lot of their practices from a dine-in experience to a takeout and curbside pickup, that type of thing, and getting those protocols out to their audience has been huge. An element of that is also knowing, which of their restaurants they should be communicating and what the local practices might be for that specific region of the state or country. Another area where we're seeing our clients react well today is in a number of Janelle and Gretchen mentioned this, but going through and seeking feedback, learning from your customers. You can do that both implicitly and explicitly. We're seeing better engagement with any of the implicit surveys and profiles that we've sent out as a company, and our clients are seeing that as well. But also learning explicitly, if people are not engaging with the messages, it's really important to think through sending different content or maybe potentially stopping sending to that individual for the time being. So going along with that, people have different behaviors, whereas I had historically been much more of an early morning work before I got the kids off to school. I am in the new normal, or I've heard someone refer to it as the now normal, and much more of a work at night. And so a lot of my work is getting done after the kids are in bed. And so learning from your audience and adjusting. So when people are reading emails, making sure you're getting messages to people that matches their changes in behaviors, and having the systems to be able to pick up on those trends. Going along with that, speeding up learnings. I think going along with learning from your audience and asking them explicitly, thinking through, like, if a week follow-up after a webinar or a white paper download made sense in the normal world, maybe makes sense to slow that down a little bit and build a little bit less of a push to a lot of those markets. Or simultaneously, there might be areas of your business that people really need to react well today, and maybe you want to speed up some elements of that for different segments of your customer base. And then, really going along with everything that people have been saying today is you want to make sure that you're sending the right message to the right customer segment, and really, even more important than sending the right one to the right person, you also want to make sure that you're not sending the wrong message, something overly promotional to somebody that really isn't in that mind frame today. And then the last piece, we just want to talk through what we're seeing in terms of brands that are preparing for Rebound. A lot of work is being done on those flows and automations throughout their email, through what should this look like when we're coming out of, and as we start being a little bit more promotional with our business. Some of our clients are using this as an opportunity to build new flows into their system that they hadn't used previously. You know, a lot of this, the path forward is very unknown. And so a lot of our clients are thinking through what are the different scenarios and how should we be adjusting based off of where we end up a month from now versus 2 months from now, that kind of thing. You know, it goes along to what we were talking about in the very beginning, but, you know, much of our clients are realizing that they could have reacted even better if they had more of their market share within their email programs, and thinking through structures to make sure that acquisition is a reliable piece of their ongoing strategies for marketing. You know, I think one of the other pieces that they're really thinking through is there are elements of their database that they have stopped messaging to or pulled back on their messaging because they've seen them stop engaging. And they're starting to think through, you know, what is the right time to start reaching back out to those folks, and what is that process and that messaging? What should it look like? So spending a lot of resources thinking through that. And then the last piece is, you know, a lot of our clients have learned a lot about their customer base. And so they're thinking through what are those lessons that we've learned, and can we build more personalization into our work so that we're sending even better messages based off of what we know about each individual subscriber. And I think that's everything I had.
So Brian, just a couple questions that popped up. You mentioned that some of your clients captured market share, you know, before the importance of capturing market share before COVID. How did they, we all deal with this challenge of how we're getting people to opt in these days. Yep. and being on the right side of the compliance for email marketing. You know, where are you seeing the greatest success before this started? And have you seen anything change while we've been in the midst of this?
Yeah, so we've seen, you know, where we've seen our clients have success, it varies by obviously the type of client of ours. You know, B2C clients, they tend to have a lot of success on the social media, Facebook, and driving people to maybe offer them some sort of discount while on the site. For our B2B clients, it's leveraging some of the same tactics. So, you know, utilizing LinkedIn to drive traffic to a landing page where people will need to enter their email to get access to a webinar, which is a great way to get people to enter the information, or a white paper, any sort of content that the teams are putting together, making sure that every point in time you can collect that information. The one thing that I would say that it has changed is that I think a lot of our clients are seeing more success with just being straightforward and asking people, you know, prominently on the site to say, like, enter your email to receive updates based off of the current atmosphere, that type of thing.
Since we have a lot of B2B folks, oh, sorry, Dean. Since we have a lot of B2B folks on this particular group, the only other thing I guess I would ask you to comment on before we wrap up would be, you know, have you seen some messaging during the COVID period that B2B clients have really resonated with? We've seen a lot of automation and things related to employee connectivity, both emotional and technical. Curious what you might have seen that's working in this B2B realm.
Yep, definitely. And, you know, a lot of it has been focused around, you know, updates to the business and wanting to make sure that people know that they're able to deliver the same level of service. But a lot of that goes back to, like, you know, what does your team look like? How is the team reacting? I think that is an element that has been really well received from our B2B clients, is the, you know, kind of like the updates on what our team is doing and successes that they've seen for other clients, that kind of thing, in this new COVID-19 world. Does that answer your question?
Hey, Brian, I have one quick question before we wrap up. You talked about the churn of emails on an annual basis, and oftentimes it can be a very manual process to address. Do you have any tips, best practices for the automation of that process to stay updated with your list?
Yeah, it's obviously tough to say because each email service provider does it differently, but most of them have a good system today of building in some sort of mechanism of building into your segment. Has this person opened an email within the past 6 months or a year, or sometimes more quickly, depending on what you reliably see in terms of your engagement. So I think looking within the email service provider and seeing if there isn't a way to build that sort of rules into your list building for when you're sending out a message.
Great, thank you. Well, we are at time. I want to thank our panelists once again, Gretchen, Brian, Janelle, for your terrific insights. Again, this has been a recorded session. It will be shared. Feel free to pass it along to others, other peers, other people within your firms. Again, I want to thank Gretchen and Kevin and Broadpath for their partnership and support.